Greetings, YouTube family. It's your buddy Choppadong, and we're coming at you today from a little bit different angle. We're going to search for value today when we talk about NBA Draftkings. I know I alternate between Draftkings and Fanduel and Draftkings and Fanduel. I'm going back to back Draftkings today because I got a very specific question from a very sweet lady who knows exactly who she is. And I'm going to make this video more for her. She asked about kind of how to solidify that core. Why does my core keep missing? And I don't know. I mean, I've seen a very, very small sample of hers and don't really know exactly where she may or may not be going wrong. Was it just bad luck? Was there a fundamental decision being made? I don't know. But what I'm going to assume is it's the same trap that a lot of people fall into, which is building kind of from the top down. Here's a point guard, here's a shooting guard, here's a this, here's a that. Oh no, I'm at the end of my build. I need to find cheap plays for this and this and this to round out my roster. And I flip it on its head, and I oftentimes will go the other way. I want to know who my studs on the slate are, and I want to know who my value on the slate is, and I want to be able to go to those as soon as I possibly can. I also don't hand build NBA lineups very often. I use our optimizer at dfsarmy.com, and honestly, it does a better job for me. I get better results when I do that. If you're building 10, 20, 30, 40 lineups, obviously you're already into that MME sort of thing, and you probably already figured that out. So let's figure out how we're going to set that core as the focus of today's video. How's that sound? As always, you can find me at Choppadong out on Twitter. You can find my pinned tweet, retweet it to be entered into March sweeps. The rules are very simple. Follow me, retweet the tweets when I request them, and for every retweet that you retweet, I will enter you into March sweeps. Sorry that sounded like a rhyme, but it is what it is. Because I want to buy somebody's subscription into March, into the DFS Army. I want to give people a chance to try us out. If you already know, or if you already are a member, you just know to click the link at the bottom of the comments section and use code CHOP, C-H-O-P, to enter, your 20% off discount code, which gets you started, and then maybe I'll reimburse you for your March. I don't care if you're a member or not. I don't care how many times you retweet me. Every time I ask, go ahead and get in. Some people are in once a month. Some people are in 8 times a month. I don't care. All I'm asking you is to help me spread the word because I want to buy more people's subscriptions. It's that simple. It's a win-win for everybody. So we're going to dive in and we're going to attack the slate on the NBA side of DraftKings. I've already called up our research station under the NBA tab. Down here, research station, DraftKings, bing. In we go. The first thing I'm going to do instead of sorting by the and one today is sort by descending value. You've seen me do this before, but now look, we've got a host of guys up here above 6x. Let's kind of pick them apart a little bit. One thing, before I even look at their names, one thing I can do is come over here and see who's running hot. And I see Kenrich Williams is running hot. And I see that Reggie Bullock is maybe running hot. And I come down a little bit lower into the upper fives, and I see names. Klay Thompson, DeLon Wright, JaVale McGee. These are names that I might be putting a little bit more emphasis on already. I'm just trying to kind of feel it out. And those would be 4 or 5 names that I might write down on a piece of paper as I continue to justify who they are and what they're doing. Let me shrink this just a smidge. See if I can't get the minutes watch on there. Almost got it. Scroll over to where we've still got our value in there. And there's our 3-game, 10-game minute watch. And I see Kenrich Williams is getting minutes. So I'm going to dig into him a little bit. JaVale McGee is getting minutes. That's a good sign because what you're wanting to find is that value actually because of a defined role, or is it because somebody got in foul trouble early or something funky happened and the dude got lucky? What we want to find out is what's changing. NBA is different. You got to follow the news. You got to follow the rotations of the offenses. You got to follow a lot of different things in NBA, and you have to do some studying. Now, I'm not saying, you hear me go overboard all the time. I'm not saying that you need to see if a guy is, puts his right leg in his pants first or his left leg, or, if he shaved his back hair today or whatever. None of that really matters. Actually, there's a law of diminishing returns where you can go too far in your research and it's not really gaining you any edge at that point. But you can certainly get the basics and dig a little bit deeper in NBA than other sports, because what you're going to need to find is how these roles are shaking out. I personally rely on our coaches inside DFS Army for that. I don't have the time in a day to dig too deep. I'm a pretty shallow researcher, and I use our optimizer to round everything out, and I trust the projections that go into it, and I trust our research and as a group, as a community. And to be quite honest with you, it's been very successful for a lot of us. That's why you hear me encourage, you got to become a VIP. You invest in your game. And I know budget is a concern for everybody. That's why I'm offering to buy your March. It's pretty simple. I think that once people get in here and they see it, they will actually kind of fall in love with the place and then want to become part of it. They'll stretch a little bit harder to become part of it because I truly think it's going to benefit your game. I'm not doing this to sell. I'm not doing this to blow smoke up your ass. I mean, there's an element to it because that's how, I make my living. But to be honest with you, I don't sell what I don't believe in. And I believe in this place with every freaking fiber of my being right now. So anyway, not to get off on too big of a tangent, we're wanting to watch the clock watch and the minutes up, the increased minutes, because that indicates an increased roll, which indicates more opportunity for DFS points. So of the 3, 5, 6 names that I mentioned, I would definitely be watching Kenrich Williams. I would definitely be watching JaVale McGee today because they're the ones that are minuted up and they're the ones that are also pointed up as far as who's running hot. It could be a direct result of getting more minutes. If I look over at Kenrich Williams, he's only a 0.9 fantasy point per minute guy. JaVale McGee is a 1.14. What if he got 30 minutes? So if we scroll back over here, we go back over to JaVale McGee, 24 minutes. We need to find news today that says he's going to get more minutes because this is set for what, 25, 26, 27 points? We need to find out that he's going to get more minutes. If we can find that out, it's just more and more and more value. We need to find a few value anchors in our lineups. Let's look at the top of the list. DeMarcus Cousins, Dwayne Dedmon. If I'm looking at what they're projected at 27, 28 minutes, and the last game out, it's about what they were getting. Not much of a minutes change in these top 5 or 6 guys, all the way down to Kenrich Williams. Not much of a change here. So these roles are pretty secure. These minutes are going to probably be pretty accurately projected. So when I look down here at the minutes, I know that Kenrich Williams, everything above him is about the same. So 30 minutes is pretty secure. But Reggie Bullock's price, this is interesting. He's just not a fantasy point per minute kind of guy. Can he have a great night? Sure. But he doesn't very often. He's a 0.7 point per minute guy. So that's not something, he needs like 80 minutes apparently to have a great night. He's just not involved. So that's what these numbers are telling you. That's what these sections are telling you. And you can sift and sort through and find out this doesn't necessarily offer a lot of value. Even though it says 27 minutes, 41 points for DeMarcus Cousins, it's a 1.54 fantasy point per play. I'll come back over here. I'm going to look a little bit deeper. He's been getting, 26 minutes as opposed to the 27. He's only up half a minute in his last 3 games over his last 10 games. So his 22 to 23 minutes are pretty secure. Last game, 26. Now, if he gets up to 26, that's fine. It looks like he scored about 21 points, so he was off. That's not a 1.7 fantasy point per minute guy. If he was averaging 23 minutes and he got 29 points, that's a little bit better. 29 points, though, is barely 5x. So he's barely bringing value. And his minutes are capped to a point where he's not bringing value. So he's priced about right now. There's no need to chase him. So I hate to bash my own, company and projection system, but the 6.7, unless there's something in there news-wise that I don't know about, is straight up bullshit. Turd trap. Should not be in your core of your lineups tonight. He can be a GPP outlier, like one of the guys that you maybe mix in a little bit. He should not be in the majority of your lineups, though. 6.7 for Dwayne Dedmon. Same issue. Let's go look. Scroll on over. Talk about him a little bit. 0.3. So again, no minutes. No minutes increase. Nothing substantial coming. Let's try and figure out what 6.7 was that 20 what 6.7 7x 28-ish points, a little less, and he got 12 last time out. He's only averaging 20 over his last 3 games. He's down 5 points because he was only averaging 25 to begin. How the hell is he going to hit 28? Turd trap. Right? I mean, the logic is suggesting that this is bullshit right now. Something's going on. Okay, big ADVP. Maybe that's it. Fine. I'm going to rely on my coaches to convince me, but as of right now, I'm going to hear these 2 names today, and I'm going to go, ugh, no. My coaches need to sell me on yes at this point because I ain't buying. Because the numbers I'm looking at are telling me hell no. I look at the 6.4 and Valanciunas, he's coming back off 61 days rest. No. Those guys often have minutes caps on him. How the hell is he going to come back at 6.4x? Turd trap. Blech. Maybe these guys are all question marks. Question mark on Reggie Bullock. No points per minute. Needs 40 minutes or more to pay off his salary. Turd trap. Kent Bazemore. God, that's a perennial turd trap. Why is he registering at 6.3x? Screw that guy. I can scroll over and check him probably in a heartbeat. I'll show you a couple of ways to show you Bazemore. 16 points per game. Down 6 points off of his 10-game average. Suck it. 3.2 minutes lost in his 3 games over his last. Suck it. How the hell is he going to snap back and go for 6.5x? Give me a break. Who's writing this shit? Scroll over and look at the consistency numbers for a turd like Bazemore. And yeah, if the dude was here and standing 7 foot tall in my kitchen, I'd get up on a step stool and I'd point him in the face and say, you suck. For your price, you suck. Now get out of my house. 93% of the time he hits 3x. Big whoop. 78 4x, 60% 5x. I'm going to call bullshit. 54% 6x. I'm going to call bullshit. Not recently, he hasn't. Because I got the numbers right here that show me recently. That's a big hell no. I'm not interested. Unless my coaches convince me otherwise. My coaches know NBA way better than I do. And I might be sounding like a big flippin' fool right now talking to you about this stuff. But I'm telling you, no. My coaches get in here later today and say this guy, this guy, this guy, and it'll be all of these guys. And I will say, prove it. And when they prove it to me, I'll say, okay, I see your point. That does make sense. And then I may shift and they may all be in my lineup tonight. I don't know yet. It's 9 o'clock. It's 9 o'clock in New York City. I don't know. What I know is on paper, looking at them with my initial views, hell no. Get out. What I'm looking for, again, is the guys that are projected over here on the bigger side. You know, your Kenrick Williams. So if I look at Kenrick Williams and I see the 9 points higher over his 3 game than his 10 game, I see he averages 24. He's been averaging 34. He's projected. He had 40 his last time out. Yeah. Ding, 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 ding. Green light. Green light. 9 minutes more. Was averaging 27. Has been averaging 36. Got 37 his last game out. Ding, 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 ding. Green light. Core play. $4,900. Core play. JaVale McGee was the other one. $4,800. 43 points last time out. 6 minutes more than his 3-game and 10-game average. 31 points versus 25. And he got a 43. Ceiling. 4.3 minutes. Was only getting 23. Was only getting 19 before that. Now getting 23 to 26. Ceiling. See where I'm going with that? Very easy to go hand picking through these lists and figure out which value might make sense and which value does not. And I'm going to put a couple of check marks by Williams and McGee. And then, maybe a couple of these other guys will make sense as we go hand picking through them. But generally speaking, those are my core plays. And now I'm going to go through and sort by the and one. I mean, we're at 14 minutes of Ramble Town. But I'm going to go sorting through the and one here. And I'm going to be starting to denote some of my studs. Now, these guys up here at the top of this list generally have the 5, 5.5. When they run around 5x, okay, whatevs. But when they start getting a 5.4x, Joel Embiid, Trae Young's pretty low price, $6,700 to be pulling a 5.5. That's interesting. 5.8 for Klay Thompson because he's running hot lately. We already saw that. 6.1 for Taurean Prince. That's an interesting one. Needs a little bit of double checking. Got a great matchup today. But you're going to want to look at his minutes. You're going to want to look at whether or not he's running hot. 6.4x Reggie Bullock. We already discussed that. 6.7x Boogie Cousins. Already discussed that. 5.7x Evan Fournier. Interesting. because he has not been performing too well lately. So I'm looking again for these big matchups, but I'm looking for who's likely to bring value and what I already know about them and whether or not I think they can bring value on paper. So Embiid would probably enter my favorable playlist. Kuzma, Trae Young, favorable plays. Klay Thompson, favorable play. So now what have I done? I've just established some form of a small core of players. Klay Thompson, Trae Young, Joel Embiid. Who were my value plays? Kenrick Williams, possibly JaVale McGee in the utility or something like that. And there's 5 of my 9 players, 8 or 9 players, depending on what site you're on. 5 of my players that I can now put in about, say, 60 to 75% of my lineups. I'll come away from the domination station here in just a second. And let's just do a little bit of playing. I won't take long with this. We'll be out of here in under 5 minutes, as long as the domination station loads up. Since it's already loaded, I can sort by value, pull these guys up, and I already know I don't want to see you guys in my lineup just yet because you guys are traps, right? I love Kenrick Williams, so I'm going to give you even more of a boost. Teron Prince, maybe, but I'm going to bump him down some. And the reason I'm going to bump him down is to get him out of there. Hoyter, Clay, we're going to bump Clay up. Get him way on up there. DeLon Wright, didn't see anything really bad per se. Fournier, I'm not in favor lately. JaVale McGee, we're going to bump him up. We're going to take Collins, Gordon, Trae Young, we're going to bump him up. Horford, Bellinelli, Fournier, Draymond Green, Ingram, Marcus Morris, Boban, Joel Embiid. I'm going to go ahead and give him a little extra juice as well. So now I've kind of got my core identified, right? If I was running a bunch of lineups, I can control through global exposure and say, and I'm a little heavy. A lot of people say only 50, 60%. Man, I'll go 75%. I don't care. I'm in it to win it. And now I'm going to take some of these guys and I'm going to make, say, I don't know, 50 lineups, right? How many uniques? If I want a tight core that is very boom or bust, that is going to all hit one night or all miss one night, I would have 1 or 2 unique players. If I want to spread that out a little bit and give myself more of a chance, I might even run 4 unique players. Generally, 3 is about the middle. It's pretty common, pretty cautionary. Tournament mode, click it to win it. Let the machine go to work. And what it's going to find is well, hopefully it settles out here in a minute. This lineup doesn't kick on me when I go to describing it. But Trae Young, DeLon Wright, Kenrick Williams, right? JaVale McGee, Joel Embiid, Klay Thompson. Were those guys in my core? There they are. Surrounded by a little Julius Randle, a little whatever. So let's go looking through who, as this thing cranks off all of its lineups, needs to make 50 lineups. And it's at what, 20-ish? I don't know why it's running. It usually doesn't run this slow. Usually a little bit faster than this. But as it's going, we can see Klay Thompson, Kenrick Williams, Joel Embiid, Trae Young, JaVale McGee are my top 5 exposures. They're going to be right at that 75% mark tonight because I just jacked their projections up, right? The optimizer is going to place a ton of value on them. But what I'm also looking at, who else is it like? And do I like those guys? As I dig down and do more of my research, I'm going to start shifting around. Do I like John Collins? If not, I'm going to go back in and bump his projection down and get him out of 60% of my lineups and get him down to more like 40% or something like that. Aaron Gordon, I'm going to do that through tweaking the projections rather than just go and slap a 40% max on him. Because if I slap a 40% max on him, but the optimizer wants to put him in 60%, it's going to put him in the top, say, 20 or top 25 of my 50 lineups, and then it's going to have him in nothing from then on out. And I don't want that. I want a mixture. I don't want a sudden cliff to fall off of with the projections and with the algorithm. I want it to mix in more randomly because it's going to give me more, a higher, what's the word I'm looking for? A higher spread or a tighter spread of higher points up at the top end. Aaron Gordon's going to be important tonight. I need to look at him. Ben Simmons, need to look at him. DeLon Wright, need to look at him. Al Horford, need to look at Brandon Ingram. These guys are down here in the 20% range. That's probably fine for them. If I had, Fournier in 10 of my 50 lineups, I'm all right with that. I don't want him in a ton. I don't want him in half. So I'm just monitoring the guys that are predominantly being pulled in. Once I've got my core set, now it's just a matter if I play those MMEs, those 20 max, 150 max tournaments. It's just a matter of how my core does. That's it. And if news opens up late and some $3,600 guy comes in there and becomes auto chalk, I might go in there. Like let's say it's DeLon Wright, I might go in there and then just lock him and take some of the juice off of some of these other guys' numbers and let him be my main punt, if you will, and then let it run a bunch of studs around him. If a second one opens up and I like DeLon Wright and I get over and I find another $3,000-ish guy, then I can run those two, lock them in. And if those punts go off, you are set very, very well. If the punts only get you 15, 17 points, and then your studs don't get you 80, you're going to have a rough night. But if you spread out through these optimizers and through these algorithms a little bit, and you keep the same core that you like, and we've actually got a very good coach that has a core that he offers to everybody. He tells you what his core is that night. You can like it or not like it. He's going to show you what his core is. And it's honestly, he's got a Fanduel player pool, but there's the Draftkings core right there last night. Maybe they did well, maybe they didn't, but that was it. 5 guys. It's usually 3 or 4. You can very easily build, and then he tells you why he likes them. It's very, very easy to build, 3 or 4 people as a core, and then let the machine do the rest of the work for you. If you don't have access to one of these machines, you're kind of behind the 8 ball. And you'll hear me, and I'll end on this. You hear me go into poker references all the time. There was a time when poker allowed us to put heads up. They still do, but they allowed us to put heads up displays on the players at the poker table. I could see exactly how you played. If I had, say, 500 or 1,000 hands with you at my tables, I knew that 25% of the time you were putting money in the pot voluntarily. I knew that 15% of the time you came in for the pot into the hand with a raise, and I knew that you folded to my re-raise 18% of the time. And it allowed me to analyze your game as well as my own. And when I knew how you played and how well I played, or how you played and how I played, then I could devise game plans based on your numbers to exploit the shit out of you. And if you didn't know I was doing that to you, I had a huge advantage. These optimizers are doing that to DFS. You need access to them because honestly, they are giving us an advantage when we can manipulate and we can mix and match around salary algorithms. We have a huge advantage over you. Last night, I take guys on in my coaching channel head to head all the time. If they want, they can offer me a head to head. I'll take it. And last night, I got my ass whipped. I hand built. I was stuck away from the house. Running an errand and was like, oh no, I got to get in my head-to-heads. And I punched in a hand-built lineup based on memory of what I remembered from early in the day, and it wasn't very good because I was like, oh God, was it this guy or was it this guy? I can't remember which one was the one that was on my list. Was it this guy or this guy? I couldn't remember, and I was kind of trying to figure it out. And I built a lineup, and I kind of liked it, and it got me a whopping 226 Draftkings points, and it got absolutely demolished by everybody that I played in head-to-head. Oh well, shit happens. When you get caught, that's why you don't play NBA unless you can be around your computer at lock or around your computer to at least check the news and check the way things change from early in the morning because they will change, especially this time of year. All those tips together, all that advice, all that coaching is inside DFS Army for you. So as we bump up on 23, 24 minutes here, I'm going to wrap it. I'm going to come back maybe with a little bit of NHL today, so be watching for that. Subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification icon, get the bell to ring and let you know when I drop another video. Turn on your alerts out on Twitter. When I drop a tweet, sometimes it's an article, sometimes it's a video, sometimes it's just a wisecrack. Respond. I love having conversations with people. That's what social media is all about. Comment in the YouTube videos. I'll probably respond. Just out here to have fun. I'm a content editor and I'm watching over writers inside DFS Army all day long and designing the articles that we're going to put out to you. And in a lot of cases, I'm on social media anyway. So I tend to answer back. If you like that type of content, hit the like, hit the subscribe. If you want to become a member, you click in the comment section, you click the link. Become a member. DFSArmy.com. Use coupon code CHOP. Get that 20% off. And definitely enter March sweeps. I'd love to buy your month. I'd love to buy your March. Jump on in, guys. Let's all have fun together. Let's make this a team atmosphere. Let's build this thing, keep going forward, and let's make ourselves better players. Hopefully that helped you, sweet lady. And we will see you on the other side. Take care, guys.